You to introduce yourself, Jules.
Hi, I've been associated with Golden Shears now for 40 years. I came to the 1980 Golden Shears as a young shearer, and it was just the most incredible experience as a learner, and I've never really gone away. I just fell in love with, if Golden Shears was in Timbuktu, I'd probably be living in Timbuktu.
Well, you look pretty cool, Jules. 40 years hanging out here in Masterton the first week of March.
Oh, look, it's a bug. You just catch the bug. I was listening to some young ones yesterday that they must have been novice shearers, and they were just so excited about competing at the Golden Shears.
Yes, that's right. So we're due to start off in about 5 minutes. The crew's getting ready down there. We're opening with the senior Woolhandling heats, sponsored by Te Puni Kōkiri. But I thought it might have been good just to spend a bit of time to recap on yesterday, where we got to, what happened. For those of you that missed, you can find it online, YouTube channel Golden Shears 2020, and you can catch up with it all there. But it was a great day yesterday. All our novice and junior competitors. Jules did a bit of a maths exercise, and you reckon around 200 competitors just for the half day yesterday, Jules?
I think there would have to have been. There was 140 between the novice and the junior shearing, and there would have at least been, I think, 60 in the junior novice and junior wool handling.
That's right.
It was very, very busy.
It was busy. We had the challenge, what do they call it? The student challenge, where they pulled together or allowed entry for those cadets. These are all the apprentices that are out there, and we were so thrilled to have such a great team of them. But just as a bit of a recap, so we had 2 prize givings last night, and the first one, of course, was our novice wool handling. Now, that was interesting, and the novice wool handling sponsored by Paiwai Mullen Shearing, so Aria, to you and Dannyvert, ka pai, thank you for your continued sponsorship and support of the novice wool handling. But that winner last night was interesting. We had young Laura Bradley. Jules.
I think Laura's known for being very well prepared for these events and very competitive. She's come along from the beginning of the season. She did some early shows in the wool handling before Christmas, certainly up in the Hawke's Bay. I remember seeing her at a couple of events. And she's gone out there and practiced, and I think it's a measure of, both her and her family. Her brother is a really top open competitor in the shearing, and they get out there and they make sure they know what they're doing. And I'm sure when she gave her thank you speech last night, she acknowledged, her mum, Gwen Ann Pawai, and who's a member of the Welsh shearing team. And she also acknowledged Aria Mullins for giving her the opportunity. So it was a good performance from her.
It was a great performance, because I'm not used to seeing her handling wool. I mean, she's a shearer. She's and a very staunch, strong shearer at that. So to see the shearing fraternity, and it's not just the women, really taking on board the wool handling is a very cool thing. And you're right about the family thing. Wayne Bradley, he was a top young farmers, came through YFC, open shearer. Her mum, Helen, also another Welsh lady who came over and competed with such enthusiasm. Sitting next to Laura last night just certainly reminded me of Helen and her days. And then, of course, we had the novice shearing, and that was sponsored by Sedecton. So, a great product, and we're very grateful for their continued support of Golden Shears as well. But young Kyla, Riker Swan.
Yeah, look, Riker Swan, I mean, he's just turned 14. He was 13 and 2 weeks ago. So for a 14-year-old to win the novice, he's another boy that's competed all season. He was very cautious in those early weeks of competing, and he's just come into his own. He was up against another couple of lads that were only about 16, schoolboys. I think young Jack Devane's just started his first job as a shepherd in the Dannyverk area. There was another boy that had been to school, primary school, with Michael Buick, and they're only 16 or 17 years old. So it was a very strong field in the final, and that's what I thought was they shore really well, and it was anyone's game at the beginning of the event. It showed that they were well prepared for the final, and they were held on to their sheep, and they shore really well. It was a delight.
Yeah, so I remember young Riker pulling out that first sheep, and the sheep looked bigger than him.
It does every time.
It had wool from the tip of its nose to the tip of its toes.
Yeah.
And in fact, at one stage, it kind of got away on him. He had to stop his handpiece and restart. You know, that takes a bit of maturity, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's very calm under pressure, and I think that's what happens with these lads, the young competitors that compete in other shows. They learn to control themselves when it becomes a bit of a problem or the sheep gives them a bit of a hard time. And they're quite calm about it. They just turn the handpiece off, or in the novice, the judges are allowed to assist for a safety reason.
Yes.
And but you know, when he was in front, he and young Michael Buick, they went out there intending to win it.
They certainly did, and that's such a cool thing at such a young age. I mean, that can take them absolutely anywhere. And then, of course, we had the junior grades yesterday as well, the junior Woolhandling, and a shout out to friend and colleague Fiona Gower of Rural Women New Zealand. They do a great job, and they've been at Golden Shears for a few years now. They supported the Women in Wool project in the Hawke's Bay, and those women were here competing in that grade. So the rest of the semis and finals will continue on today.
Yep.
And then the junior shearing, and great sponsorship there from Dean Williams of Farmers Weekly. They do an amazing job of covering all the real stuff plus the goss through their magazine for the rural sector. So it's always a good read. So we'll be able to follow them on through the next couple of days. But Jules, you've got in front of you the program for today. Just give us a brief outline of what's coming up today.
So what we've got this morning is they're starting shortly with the senior wool handling heats, and that's an open field. There's a very strong field there. There's another 7 or 8 heats there with three to 4 in each heat. So it's a very busy morning start. And then by about mid-morning, sort of 9 or 10 o'clock, they'll be doing the intermediate, which is shearing. There's another 6 or 7 young women in the shearing that are very competent shearers that is going to open this field up, international shearers in that field. And then we get into the semi-finals of the junior and the intermediate before the semi-final of the wool handling just before lunch.
Yep, and then after lunch.
And then in the afternoon we've got the Evergreens event, and the Evergreens event is going to be interesting because there's 3 grades this year. There's the 55 to 64, 64 to 74, and then the 75 and over. So my understanding is that there's 2 or 3 sheep each for these oldies, and you know, I have to say that this is the first time I've ever shorn in the veterans event. I've graduated out of the Open after 30 years of shearing here in the Open, and it's an exciting thing to be involved and to encourage your families and your younger ones to come along and watch their parents and grandparents have a go. You know, the Snow Harrison from Invercargill is the oldest competitor here. He's 84, and he was in the first final in 1961, and goodness me, he's still getting out there and practising shearing.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly get Snow up here to the green room at some stage. But look, I think thank you, Jules, for joining me this morning. Thanks for the recap and just understanding what's going on today. Sign into the YouTube channel for Golden Shears 2020. If you want to have a check around the stadium, the 360 virtual is the one to have a look at, as well as just the static screen. But provide your feedback, send us some messages if that be the case. Love to hear from you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Golden Shears 2020, Day 2. Let's get down to the floor and see what's going on.